Have you ever stopped to listen to the silent hum of your own thoughts? Not the big, life-altering decisions, but the small, everyday words that slip out, almost unnoticed, shaping your reality like a river carving its way through stone. Have you ever considered that the phrases you use every day, the casual remarks and quiet resignations, could be the unseen architects of your happiness and health as you age? The truth, a quiet and often uncomfortable one, is that many of us, especially as we enter our senior years, fall into linguistic traps, habits of speech that do far more harm than we could ever imagine. Words possess a formidable power, a kind of subtle magic that we often underestimate. They are not merely sounds or symbols, they are the very building blocks of our perception. They can construct walls of limitation or open doors to possibility. They can color the way you feel about yourself, subtly influence the dynamics of your most cherished relationships, and even have a tangible impact on your overall well-being. This isn't just philosophy, it's the lived experience of millions. In our conversation today, we are going to pull back the curtain on 9 of the most pervasive and damaging words and phrases that you must consciously decide to stop saying in your later years. These are not obscure or shocking terms, they are words everyone knows, words that have become so common they are almost invisible. Yet no one truly talks about their corrosive effect, the slow, steady drip that can erode even the strongest spirit. You might be genuinely surprised at just how often they sneak into your daily conversations, masquerading as humility, practicality, or harmless self-deprecating jokes. Sometimes they appear as little complaints whispered to yourself in the mirror. At other times, they are casual remarks of resignation tossed into a conversation with family. But make no mistake, these negative verbal habits can quietly and methodically drain your confidence, create invisible fractures in your connections with loved ones, and dim the vibrant hope you deserve for the future. I urge you to stay with us through this entire exploration, because this is not about shame or criticism. For each destructive phrase we uncover, I will offer you a simple, powerful strategy, a new set of words to replace the negativity with encouragement, to swap limitation for confidence, and to foster a profound and deserved respect for the incredible person you are today. Now, let's begin this journey of rediscovery. The first phrase we must confront is a deceptively simple one. It doesn't matter. At first glance, these 3 words can sound harmless, even practical. They can seem like a useful tool for brushing off small disappointments, a social lubricant to avoid conflict, or a way to appear easygoing. But when used repeatedly over time, this phrase transforms from a tool into a cage. It becomes a kind of emotional armor that, while seemingly protecting you from being a bother, also keeps you from expressing your most fundamental needs, your deepest desires, or your true feelings. For many older adults, it simply becomes easier, less confrontational, to say it doesn't matter than to risk being perceived as a burden, to voice a dissenting opinion, or to ask for something you genuinely want or need. The insidious trouble with this habit is that it often leads to a slow-burning resentment, a creeping loneliness, or even a profound sense of invisibility. When you consistently tell yourself and the world around you that your preferences do not matter, you eventually start to believe it. You begin to believe that your happiness, your comfort, and your choices are not worthy of consideration. This can manifest in countless small ways, chipping away at your sense of self. It's saying it doesn't matter when someone asks what you'd like for dinner, which television show to watch, or if you'd enjoy some company for an afternoon walk. The more you use this phrase, the more you unintentionally fade into the background of your own life story. Consider the story of Eleanor, a 79-year-old grandmother from Chicago.
For years, she had always gone along with whatever her bustling family suggested, telling herself it was just easier not to make a fuss. One day, her granddaughter, bright-eyed and planning a celebration, asked what kind of cake she wanted for her upcoming 80th birthday. Without a moment's thought, the automatic reply surfaced. "Oh, honey, it doesn't matter. Whatever you choose will be lovely." But deep down, in a place she hadn't visited for years, she yearned for a rich, dark chocolate cake with fudge icing, the kind her own mother used to bake for her as a child. The thought was so vivid she could almost taste it. It took a week of quiet courage, but she eventually called her granddaughter back and, with a slightly trembling voice, said, "You know, I've been thinking about that cake. I would absolutely love a chocolate one." That small act of speaking her preference transformed her birthday from just another day into a truly special personal celebration. It mattered.
Psychologists and experts in geriatric wellness say that sharing your preferences is not an act of selfishness. It is a vital act of self-preservation and engagement. It is a way to stay connected to the world, to remain an active participant in your own life, and to allow others the genuine gift of caring for you in meaningful ways. It's time to retire "it doesn't matter." Try swapping it for honest, gentle answers, even if they seem small. "I'd actually prefer Italian food tonight," or "a walk sounds wonderful, thank you for asking." Your voice, your choices, and your happiness truly do matter at any and every age. If this first point has resonated with you, if you recognize this pattern in yourself or a loved one, please let me know by commenting the number 1 below. It's a small way of saying, "My voice matters." Now let's move to a phrase that acts like a thief in the night, stealing potential and joy before they even have a chance to blossom. Few expressions have the power to so quietly and completely sap your spirit like the 3 little words, "I'm too old." This phrase is a master of disguise. It can show up in countless situations. When you contemplate starting a new hobby that has always intrigued you, when an opportunity arises to make a new friend, when you consider moving somewhere new, or when you feel a flicker of desire to learn something you've never done before. With just these 3 words, you construct an invisible fence around your future, setting a finite limit on your own growth, and closing the door on a universe of possibilities, sometimes before you even give them a real, honest chance. Of course, age brings undeniable changes. Our bodies are different, and some activities are certainly more challenging than they were in our youth. But the pervasive idea that being too old means you are finished growing, learning, or enjoying life is one of the most damaging and factually incorrect myths our society perpetuates. It's a story we are told, and a story we often tell ourselves, but it simply is not true. The world is filled with vibrant counter-narratives if we only look. There are 80-year-olds taking up watercolor painting for the very first time, discovering a passion that lay dormant for decades. There are 75-year-olds launching small businesses from their kitchen tables, and 90-year-olds joining book clubs, learning new languages online, or traveling to places they've only ever dreamed of visiting. Let's remember the story of Frank, a retired mechanic from Texas, who, at the age of 80, confessed he had always wanted to play the piano. He finally bought a simple keyboard and started watching online tutorial lessons. At first, the learning curve was painfully steep. His fingers felt clumsy and stiff, and some days they just wouldn't cooperate with his brain. It would have been so easy to give up, to say, "I'm just too old for this." But Frank refused to let that phrase stop him. He practiced for just 15 minutes a day. And now, a year later, he plays simple melodies for his grandchildren, who love to dance and sing along as he plays. The joy in that room is a testament to his refusal to be defined by a number.
Experts in cognitive aging and psychology emphasize that every time you say, "I'm too old," you reinforce a negative self-image and actively rob yourself of the profound joy that comes from surprise and discovery. It shrinks your world. So, let's make a pact. Swap that limiting phrase for something expansive. How about, "Why not me?" Or a simple, powerful, "It's never too late." You will be utterly amazed at how your entire outlook and even your physical energy can shift when you consciously leave room for new adventures. If you're still with me and finding these insights valuable, it would mean the world if you could comment the number 2 below. And if you haven't already, this is a great time to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future conversations. Your support is what allows us to continue creating content that informs and inspires. Let's proceed to our third phrase, a short but incredibly potent declaration that builds walls around your life, brick by invisible brick. Few words are as immediately limiting or as quietly destructive as "I can't." It is one of those reflex phrases that slips out almost unconsciously when something feels difficult, unfamiliar, or just a little bit scary. Over the years, you may have noticed yourself saying it more and more often, whether you're asked to try a new piece of technology, invited to join a community group, or even just faced with the prospect of getting up and going for a walk on a chilly morning. On the surface, it feels like a safe response, a way to avoid potential embarrassment or the sting of failure. But what it really does is construct a fortress around your life, a fortress that keeps out new experiences and shrinks your world day by day. Every single time you utter the words "I can't," you are not just stating a fact, you are casting a vote for your own limitations. You reinforce the deeply damaging idea that there are doors in your life that are forever closed to you, that you are not capable, or perhaps not even worthy of trying something new. The profound truth, however, is that most of our limitations begin in the mind, not in the body. Even if you require assistance, even if you need to adapt an activity or do things differently than you once did, that does not mean you are incapable. It simply means you need a new approach. Think about the story of Margaret, who at 82 was gifted a new smartphone by her children so she could video call her grandchildren who lived across the country. Initially, she was completely overwhelmed. The icons were confusing, the screen was sensitive, and she struggled immensely. She got frustrated, wanted to put it back in the box, and nearly let "I can't do this" have the final word. But the desire to see her grandchildren's faces was stronger than her fear. Instead of surrendering, she found small ways to reframe her thinking. She started saying things like, "I'll try this for 10 minutes," or "Let's see what happens if I press this button." She asked her neighbor for help, and slowly, painstakingly, she learned. Now those video calls are the highlight of her week. Experts in behavioral psychology unanimously agree that swapping "I can't" for more open-ended, possibility-driven phrases can dramatically shift your mindset. Simple replacements like "I'll give it a shot" or "I'll need some help with that, but I'm willing to learn" can boost your self-confidence and keep your mind open to new and enriching experiences. The world is brimming with things worth trying, even if you have to do them in your own way and at your own pace. The next time the words "I can't" start to form on your lips, I challenge you to take a deep breath, pause, and give yourself permission to simply try. Even if it's just one small, faltering step forward, that step is a victory. We now arrive at what may be one of the most emotionally devastating phrases a person can say about themselves. Among all the painful words you can internalize, "I'm a burden" is one of the heaviest. It's a phrase that doesn't shout. It quietly settles into your heart, a cold and heavy stone, especially when you find yourself needing help, relying on others for rides to appointments or errands, or simply asking your family to spend time with you. Even if your loved ones constantly reassure you, offering their help with genuine love and enthusiasm, that insidious thought might linger, making it harder and harder to reach out when you truly need support.
This belief, this feeling of being a burden, can create a tragic and unnecessary distance between you and the very people who care for you most. It can lead to a profound loneliness, a pervasive sense of guilt, or a deep reluctance to accept kindness, all of which only make the challenges of aging harder to bear. What you might not see from your perspective is the other side of this equation. You may not realize that offering care, providing support, and spending time with you brings your loved ones a powerful sense of purpose, a deeper connection, and even profound joy. People feel needed, valued, and fulfilled when they have the opportunity to help someone they love. It is a fundamental part of the human experience. Consider Helen, an 83-year-old widow who, after she stopped driving, hesitated for weeks to ask her son for help with grocery shopping. She worried constantly about interrupting his busy life with his own family and career, telling herself over and over that she was just a burden. When she finally summoned the courage to open up and ask, her son's reaction was not one of annoyance, but of relief and happiness. He later shared with her how much he cherished their new weekly outings to the supermarket, saying that those simple moments of conversation and shared time were often the highlights of his stressful week. He got to be a son again, and that was a gift to him. Gerontologists and family counselors agree that accepting help is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of trust, love, and a willingness to participate in the reciprocal dance of a relationship. Instead of letting "I'm a burden" poison your thoughts, try reframing it with gratitude. Say, "Thank you for being here for me," or "I so appreciate you taking the time to help." Allow yourself to believe, truly believe, that giving and receiving help is a beautiful gift that flows both ways, strengthening the bonds that matter most. If you're still watching and these insights are hitting home, please show your support by commenting the number 4 below. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Your engagement fuels our mission to create meaningful content. Now, let's continue. Our 5th phrase may sound innocent, even nostalgic, but it quietly anchors you in the past and can prevent you from appreciating the beauty and value of the present. So many older adults find themselves slipping into stories that begin with the words, "I used to be," or "I used to do." They recall former careers, athletic accomplishments, past travels, or social roles that once defined who they were. While reminiscing is a natural and healthy part of life, living perpetually in the shadow of your former self can leave you feeling deeply disconnected from the person you are right now. The danger lies in comparison. Every time you measure today's abilities, today's joys, or today's relationships against the yardstick of what used to be, you risk missing out on the unique richness of the life you are living in this very moment. It is absolutely essential to honor your past and the experiences that shaped you, but it is equally important to recognize that every stage of life brings new strengths, new perspectives, and new reasons to be proud. Focusing only on what has been lost or what has irrevocably changed can rob you of gratitude for the present and can even lead to prolonged periods of sadness or regret. The narrative of your life is still being written, and this chapter has its own unique value. Let's think about Carl, a 78-year-old retired teacher who often told his friends, "I used to run marathons." After a health scare made distance running impossible, he felt adrift. For a while, Carl stopped participating in group activities altogether, believing that the best, most vital part of his life was over. He was defined by the man he used to be. It wasn't until a friend encouraged him to join a local walking club that his perspective began to shift. He discovered the simple, profound pleasure of daily walks through the park, of taking photos of birds and wildflowers, of conversations with new friends.
He realized that joy could look different now, quieter perhaps, but just as meaningful as it did 30 years ago. Experts on aging and mental health encourage us to actively notice and celebrate what we can do today, rather than constantly comparing ourselves to our younger years. This isn't about ignoring the past, it's about integrating it into a fuller, more present identity. Instead of starting your sentences with, "I used to be," try a small but powerful shift. Try saying, "Today I enjoy," or "Now I'm learning." This simple linguistic adjustment can renew your appreciation for each new season of life, helping you to find value and purpose right where you are. Now we turn to a phrase that acts like a poison to motivation, a sentiment that can drain the color from your world. Of all the words that sap your energy and joy, "what's the use" might be the most discouraging. It is a phrase that often shows up when you are faced with setbacks, disappointments, or the slow pace of progress. It can sneak into your thinking when you begin to wonder if making an effort, any effort at all, truly matters in the grand scheme of things. Perhaps you are tempted to skip your daily exercises, to let go of a healthy eating habit, or to stop reaching out to friends, telling yourself there's simply no point in trying anymore. This mindset is tragically easy to understand, especially if you have had a string of hard days, or if the changes you hope for feel impossibly far away. But believing that nothing will change, no matter what you do, can make your life feel smaller, more constrained, and more hopeless than it really is. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The truth, which you must hold on to, is that every small effort counts, every single one. Even if it doesn't lead to a dramatic Hollywood-style transformation, the very act of trying is an act of hope. It is a declaration that you are still in the game, and it sets a powerful, inspiring example for those around you, particularly younger generations. Consider Alice, 85, who started painting with watercolors after her husband passed away. It was a way to fill the quiet hours. On tough days, when grief felt heavy, she would look at her amateurish paintings and think, "What's the use? Nobody's going to see these anyway." But something inside her kept going. She continued to paint, filling her small apartment with vibrant landscapes and floral scenes. One day, her college-aged granddaughter came to visit and was completely captivated by one of the paintings. She asked if she could have it for her dorm room. In that moment, Alice realized that her efforts did matter, profoundly. Even if they only brightened one person's day, that was more than enough. Psychologists who work with seniors say that the key to overcoming the "what's the use" mentality is to set small, achievable, and meaningful goals, and then to celebrate every little win along the way. When you hear your inner voice beginning to whisper that dreadful phrase, try to gently counter it. Remind yourself that your actions do matter, no matter how simple they seem. A kind word to a cashier, a short walk around the block, a 5-minute phone call to a friend. These are not useless acts. They are the very threads that weave a life of meaning. If you're finding this video to be a source of encouragement, let me know by commenting the number 6 below. And please remember to subscribe and click the bell. We are building a community here, and your participation is what makes it strong. Let us now examine 2 words that can feel like the loneliest in the English language. Nobody cares. These words have a tendency to creep in during moments of profound loneliness, sharp disappointment, or when plans fall through and you are left feeling unseen and invisible. "Nobody cares" is a phrase that can quickly cast a dark shadow over your entire outlook, making it dangerously easy to withdraw from friends, family, and your wider community. The real trouble is, once you start believing this sentiment, you might unintentionally begin to act in ways that push others away, thereby missing the very opportunities for connection and kindness that could prove your belief wrong. The feeling that you do not matter is often rooted in temporary setbacks, a missed phone call from your child, a canceled visit from a friend, or an offhand comment that stings more than it was intended to. But allowing this fleeting feeling to take root and harden into a core belief can lead to real, tangible isolation. It is so important to remember that people often do care deeply, even if they sometimes fall short, get overwhelmed by their own lives, or fail to express it perfectly. Relationships ebb and flow, life gets busy, but your presence in the lives of others is almost certainly more valued than your lonely moments might lead you to believe. Think of George, 80 years old, who felt completely forgotten when his daughter had to cancel their regular Sunday visit due to a work emergency. He spent the entire afternoon stewing in his armchair, repeating the sad mantra, "Nobody cares." The following week, his daughter showed up not just for a visit, but with a basket of his favorite groceries and a huge, heartfelt hug, apologizing profusely for being caught up at work. That small but meaningful gesture reminded George that love is sometimes delayed, not absent. A busy schedule doesn't equate to a lack of caring. Experts in social gerontology suggest that the most powerful antidote to the feeling of being uncared for is to take proactive steps, however small. When you're feeling neglected, reach out instead of retreating. Call a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, write a short note to a neighbor, or consider volunteering in your community, even for an hour a week. The more you offer kindness and connection to the world, the more likely you are to receive it in return. Instead of resigning yourself to the thought that nobody cares, try shifting your internal monologue to "somebody will notice," or, better yet, "I'll give someone a call today." This simple, action-oriented change can make you feel more connected, more empowered, and far less alone. Our eighth phrase is another one that masquerades as a positive quality, humility. On the surface, saying, "I'm just lucky," might seem like a gracious and humble thing to say, especially when you are complimented for staying active, for having good health, or for enjoying close family relationships. But this phrase, however well-intentioned, can actually diminish your own efforts, your accumulated wisdom, and your hard-won resilience. It makes it sound as if everything good in your life happened by random chance, rather than as a direct result of your choices, your habits, and your hard work over a lifetime.
When you chalk up every positive attribute and outcome to sheer luck, you miss a crucial opportunity to acknowledge and celebrate your own strengths. You are not a passive recipient of good fortune. You have made countless decisions, you have learned from innumerable setbacks, you have nurtured and cultivated relationships over decades. There is immense value in giving yourself credit for your perseverance, your discipline, and your kindness, instead of sweeping it all under the convenient rug of luck. This isn't about being boastful, it's about being honest about your own agency in your life. Take the example of Nancy, a 76-year-old woman whose friends always admired her for her positive outlook and remarkably active lifestyle. Whenever someone would praise her for her boundless energy, she would laugh it off and say, "Oh, I'm just lucky to have good genes." But one day, her daughter gently reminded her of the reality. She reminded her mother how she consciously made daily walks a non-negotiable priority, how she diligently chose healthy foods at the grocery store, and how she made a consistent effort to reach out to friends and maintain her social network. None of that was accidental. It was a lifestyle she had built, choice by choice. Psychologists encourage us to learn to accept compliments with simple gratitude and to inwardly, if not outwardly, acknowledge the effort we have put into our own well-being.
Instead of defaulting to, "I'm just lucky," try responding with a simple, "Thank you, I've worked hard to stay healthy." Or, "I'm grateful for the choices I've made and for the wonderful support system I have." This perspective does more than just build your own self-esteem. It inspires others to recognize that they too can take ownership of their own lives and create their own luck. Finally, we arrive at the most definitive and perhaps the most quietly limiting phrase of all, one that is tragically widespread among seniors. It's too late. Whether it is in reference to starting a new hobby, making a new friend, apologizing for an old mistake, or setting a brand new goal, those 3 words can slam the door shut on future opportunities before you even give yourself a chance to peer through the keyhole. It is a sentiment that can grow louder and more convincing with each passing year, a constant whisper that the best parts of life are already in the rearview mirror. But the beautiful, liberating truth is that as long as you are here, breathing, it is never, ever truly too late. History and modern life are filled with countless inspiring stories of people in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s taking up painting, writing their first book, learning to swim, or even falling in love. Life continues to offer new beginnings and new experiences if only you remain open to them. No matter your age, each new day brings with it the fresh potential for joy, for growth, and for meaningful connection.
Think about Ed, an 84-year-old great-grandfather who finally decided to learn how to use email so he could keep in touch with his great-grandchildren scattered across the country. At first, he hesitated, the familiar thought echoing in his mind. "It's too late for me to learn all this complicated computer stuff." But step by step, with immense patience from his grandson and a healthy dose of his own determination, he not only learned to send and receive messages, but became the family's beloved digital storyteller, sharing old family photos and jokes. His world expanded immeasurably because he challenged that single limiting belief. Experts on lifelong learning remind us that our brains retain a remarkable capacity for change and discovery, a concept known as neuroplasticity that does not have an age limit. The key is to challenge it. Instead of surrendering to the finality of "it's too late," try asking yourself, "Why not now?" or declaring, "I can give it a try." These words are keys that unlock doors. They open the way to new beginnings and help keep your spirit curious, engaged, and vibrantly alive, no matter what the calendar says. As we bring our conversation to a close, please take a quiet moment to reflect on these 9 words and phrases we have explored together today. Which one shows up most often in your own life? Which one do you feel right now that you are ready to let go of, starting today? Changing the deeply ingrained habits of how we speak to ourselves and about ourselves is not always easy, but it is unequivocally one of the most powerful ways to shift our entire outlook on life and to keep growing, no matter our age. Your words matter. They matter to your own mental and physical health. They matter to those around you who love you. And they matter to the younger generations who are watching you and learning how to navigate the later chapters of their own lives. When you catch yourself slipping into one of these old, comfortable but destructive habits, simply notice it without judgment. And then remember that every day, every moment, is a new chance to choose words that lift you up, that empower you, and that bring hope to yourself and to others. Start small. Choose just one phrase to replace this week, and pay close attention to the difference it makes in your mood, your confidence, and your connections.
Thank you so much for joining us for this important discussion. We would be truly honored to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share one thing you learned or were reminded of today, and perhaps how you plan to use it in your own life. Your thoughts, stories, and insights are incredibly important to us and to this community, so please do not hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us immense motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please show your support with a like, and be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit. Your support helps us continue our mission of creating good content to inform, inspire, and connect. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.